think the violence against children these are the sub-dimensions that you see, the different types of violence and harmful practices. What we do know in the Philippines is that 3 out of 5 children have experienced at least one form of violence, with 2 in 5 having experienced physical punishment, and 3% experienced severe physical punishment. The highest prevalence of violent discipline is seen among children aged 3 to 9 years, with 3 out of 5 children affected. This is usually the part of the presentation where we say we don't have much data on child protection, we don't have much data on violence. But the Philippines has something that most other countries don't have. And as a data nerd, I'm very excited about this. I hope you're also excited about this. The Philippines has something called the longitudinal study of children in the Philippines. This is a study that has been going on since 2016 and headed by UNFPA with UNICEF and with financial partnership from the Australian government. So 5,000 Filipino children who were 10 years old in 2016 have been surveyed every year. And they're going to continue to be surveyed until 2030 when they're 25. And this gives us a sense of how the situation of children is evolving, but it's also giving us insights a little bit on the question of the right to protection. So, all right, so these are the children that have reported to have been physically hurt by a friend or a classmate. The orange is boys, the red is girls, and these are the same children that have answered the questions throughout the years. So as they're getting older, they're reporting less physical violence, and boys tend to be reporting higher levels than girls. Let's see that again, and this is, the different graphs are who is the perpetrator of that violence. So children report having been physically hurt by a friend or classmate. You see it was higher when they were 10 years old, going down as they're reaching 18 more recently. And again, higher for boys than girls, and it's across all areas. So classmates, parents, or friends. Let's look at the same source of information for emotional. Oops, I pressed it twice. Okay. Children reported who have been hurt emotionally by parents. This is by friends and classmates. You see the numbers here. Here, girls tend to be higher than boys across the years, as you see, but numbers are going down, but not nearly as much as we saw on the physical violence. So this is friends and classmates. Maybe I'll go back just to get it going again. Oops. Okay. Really big increase on the parents on the girls' side in more recent years. I guess this is emotionally. Friends and classmates. Okay. There's one more category. No, there's 3 categories. Parents, friends and classmates. Okay, I think there's 2 categories for the emotional and 3 categories for the physical. So you see, again, big differences between genders when it comes to physical and emotional. Higher for boys and on the physical, higher for girls on the emotional. Physical going down significantly as the children are getting older, emotional less so. Okay, now moving on. On reported abuse cases, this is types of abuse. You see really high in the red sexual abuse or assault. In terms of cases that are reported, this is 2022, we see a big chunk here being sexual abuse or assault. The other categories is emotional, psychological abuse, that's the black, and neglect. This is just the same figures shown comparatively. So really big in terms of reported cases on the sexual abuse side. In terms of You see here some figures on physical and sexual violence. 1 in 10 girls aged to 15 experience physical and sexual violence. 1 in 5 ever married girls aged 15 to 19 experience violence by a husband or partner. And 20% of internet-using children and adolescents aged 20 to 17 years are victims of grave online sexual abuse and exploitation. And we want to focus on the question of online sexual exploitation and abuse of children. As many of you know, this is a particular problem in the Philippines, and the Philippines is known to be the #1 source of content for this type of abuse. In terms of harmful practices, we see that on child marriage, we see some decline, but child marriage is persisting. Even though the legal age of marriage in the country is 18 and parental consent is required up to the age of 21, girls significantly outnumber boys in registered marriages among children below the age of 15. In 2022, we had almost 460,000 girls that were married before the age of 18, and 73,000, the figure that you see there, before the age of 15. On child labor, you see the figures there. One of the things that's worrying is that out of the children that are working, so out of that figure of 828,000, 3 in 5 are engaged in hazardous, exploitative, or unsafe work in 2022. So this is about 8,228,000 children. Persisting, low in terms of percentage, but significant in terms of absolute numbers when it comes to harmful practices. What are the major bottlenecks when it comes to this? We have a child protection system that's fragmented. Different harmful practices, different types of violence are dealt with different parts of the different types of duty bearers, and that's not necessarily coming together in one coherent system. We see a limited access. Where we saw increased access to education, increased access to health, we're not necessarily seeing that when it comes to the protection sector. Data is always an issue, as well as social norms. I mentioned, just to give an example, the issue of online sexual exploitation and abuse of children. Some of the social norm studying that we have been doing has shown that there is a prevalence of belief of no touch, no harm in the Philippines. Parents, caregivers who believe that if the child is not touched, then there is no harm. So these types of social norms are also contributing to the fact that online sexual exploitation and abuse of children is relatively high in the Philippines. In terms of the outlook for data that's coming, we will have the longitudinal cohort study for the next wave that's coming. We want to exploit that more to get some of the insights that we shared here. I think there's a lot more that we could have there, especially when it comes to the right to protection. We're also hoping, and I'm speaking to my colleagues at NEDA and PSA here, that the child discipline module will be maintained in the 2025 DHS so that we can have greater insights into what kind of discipline children are experiencing going forward. So may I?